Where is my thing? I don't see it there. What's that there? All right, I thought there was a way. Supposed to be a way to, well, I don't know what I did. This thing gets me every time. Anyway, we are here, Protestant Spot. Let me read a verse for you here while some folks are getting on. In Revelation chapter 13, going to be very brief tonight. And it is, what time is it? 4:41 p.m. Central Standard Time. Here on Friday, I think this is the 20th of September. And there are bombs bursting in air over there in the Lebanon, Beirut area. And things are heating up. You all heard about the exploding pagers. I'm sure you've heard of that. And the walkie-talkies that have exploded. It's just unbelievable. Of course, it's non-official. Israel has not taken credit for that, but we know that it's them. And it's really quite amazing what they've done here. And they have taken out a lot of bad guys. And now they've crippled them with their communication. And now Israel's going to work. They've rolled up their sleeves and they're trying to take out some bad areas and some bad characters and try to get security back into their land there. All right. Okay. Well, let's jump right into this. This is part 7 of our series we're doing on the return of Rome, and you understand what we mean by that by now, hopefully. In other words, the fourth power was the Roman Empire, all the way back to 500 AD, all the way back to 100 BC, somewhere in there. In fact, the Roman Empire was in power when Jesus came on the scene. And that's the fourth empire of Daniel's dream in Daniel chapter 2, the statue. And it's also the fourth beast in Daniel chapter 7. It's the fourth kingdom that came into power and has gone into the background, but it never went away. Rome, the Roman Empire, is still in existence. It just doesn't have world power. And the Bible says that those 10 toes are going to grow out of those 2 legs, which is the Roman Empire, and once again Rome will take its place as the world power. And this is going to be under the Antichrist. Okay. And what my point is, if that's true, and it is, then if we're in the end time, which we are, then we ought to see the tentacles of this thing. We ought to see things around us showing us that Roman Empire is back on the scene. And we are. And I've shared several things with you already. I got one more to briefly share with you tonight. Let me read a verse for you here. Chapter 13 of Revelation. I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority. Chapter 13 of Revelation, verses 1 and 2, goes hand in hand with Daniel 2 and Daniel 7. The same kingdoms are mentioned here. This is right during the tribulation. I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. That's the Antichrist. And they worshiped the dragon. See, there's going to be worship during the tribulation. They're going to have worship. The problem is they're going to worship the wrong guy. They're going to worship the false Christ, the counterfeit Christ. Of course, the dragon here is Satan. You'll see that in Revelation 12 as well. They're going to worship the dragon during the tribulation, Satan. And Satan, the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. Where does the Antichrist get his power? From the dragon, from Satan. And they worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? Talk about the Antichrist. And so let's stop right there. So religion has a big part to play in this end time event. There is going to be religion, because there are two beasts that are going to rise, one out of the sea, one out of the land. One of them is the Antichrist. The other is the religious guy we call the false prophet. That false prophet is going to unite the religions of the world. It's already happening. Didn't the Pope, we talked about this last week, or on Monday, I think, we talked about the fact that the Pope just made an announcement that all religions have a road that leads to heaven. All religions. What is he doing? He's uniting all the religions of the world, and he won't admit this, but underneath of his umbrella. He's the one that said it. He's the one that has told all religions, you're all okay. You know what that does? That makes him God. That makes him a pope. Oh, wait a minute. He is a pope. That makes him the authority, because you have to have authority to tell all the religions of the world that you're good and everything's fine. And he's already done it. He's done that. Okay? So religion's a big deal here. It's going to be a big deal in the end times. It's going to be a big deal. It was, by the way, it was a big deal in the time of the Roman Empire from 100 AD to 500 AD. But here's what happened in ancient Rome. In around 313 AD, and I write about this in some of my books, in around 313 AD, a man named Constantine, you probably learned about him in high school. Constantine says he had a dream or a vision. And that's why you better be careful about putting faith in dreams and visions, yours or somebody else's. Constantine said he had one. And he claims he saw a cross in the sky. And he claims he was told to, in this sign, conquer. And so they put a cross on their shields and their swords, and they went to conquer people and force people into the Roman religion. Now that religion's going to become what we know as Roman Catholicism. That's where the religion, that didn't start there. It started in Babylon in Genesis chapter 10 and 11. And you'll see a lot of attributes. See, Babylon is going to be a world kingdom in Daniel's day, 600 years before Christ. Daniel's day, Babylon is going to rise as a world power. And then the Medes and the Persians will take over around 536 AD, BC, somewhere in there. And Greece is going to come along in the 2nd century there, BC. And then Rome's going to take over, those four powers, right? So the Roman Empire that's coming in the future is going to have attributes of all the kingdoms. All right, you still with me? In 313 AD, Constantine goes before the churches, has a big council, has a big meeting, invites all the church pastors to come. And he lets them know what God has told them, and his plan is for the church and the state to unite as one. Now, some of the pastors knew that was heresy, knew that was wrong, and they did not get involved in it. But many of them did. Hey, there was going to be benefits. Hey, the state was going to help finance your church and your people. Money is always a carrot, even to preachers. A lot of preachers give in and become accredited. They have their colleges and schools accredited. You know why? They get money from the state. That goes all the way back to Rome, the Roman Empire. And money, politics. Hey, where the government's money goes, government's control follows thereafter. I promise you that's true. Don't take it. Stay independent, stay away from it. I won't become 501c3. No way, no, I want nothing to do with it. You talk to any corporate lawyer and he'll tell you that becoming a 501c3 puts you underneath the umbrella of the government, the state. And no church should be under that. I don't care what anybody says. No church should be under that. But Brother Gunn, you don't understand. We get money. We get help from, yeah, you get help all right. One of these days you're going to get a knife in your back. I don't mean literally, but you know what I mean. They're going to force you to do and teach certain things and open your doors to certain other unpleasant lifestyles. They're going to force you in it. And hey, you're under the state. You got no choice. You belong to them. So you better think about that. And look, we were a lot better off when we met out in the woods and had church out in the woods or at somebody's house. We were a lot better off. You know that's true. Study history. And I'm not against church buildings. I'm against getting under the authority and the watch care of the government and getting their dollars and all that. That's what I'm against. So when Constantine had that meeting, many of those pastors got under the umbrella and merged their churches with the state. And eventually that's going to evolve into Catholicism that we have today with popes. I'll tell you how bad it was when Constantine died. When they had the funeral service for him, they had a casket, and they surrounded his casket with 12 caskets, empty, of course, symbolizing the 12 apostles, as if he was greater than the 12 apostles. Now, do you think that's strange? Do you understand? Power corrupts. It corrupts. Money corrupts. So that happened, 313 AD. That's 300 years almost from the time Jesus dies on the cross. The churches have now kind of intertwined and kind of have a state leader. And the emperor became not only the emperor, the head of the state, the government, he became head of the church. If you have my Henry VIII book, the 500-year-old prophecy of Henry VIII, I discuss all that and how Henry VIII in the 1500s kind of did what Constantine did in 313 AD, but he also did what's coming in the future in Revelation 13, where the Antichrist in the middle of the tribulation, somewhere thereabouts, is going to decide, I don't need the religious guy anymore. I'm going to be both. I'm going to be the head of state and the head of the religion, the church. And that's coming. So what I wanted to point out is this. When Constantine did this, eventually they began to persecute people of other religions. Like all those pastors who left the building, said, we don't want no part of this, they're going to become the enemy. They didn't join up. After a while, they're not considered Christian anymore. After a while, they're not considered part of the family of God anymore. After all, you packed your bags and left. God told us to do this, and you didn't do it. You disobeyed. And many of them would be persecuted, put to death, burned at the stake, and on and on and on and on. And so this is what's coming here. And it's already here. You've got mainstream religion now that is not Christian. You know, when you hear someone on the news talk about Christians, they're usually not talking about you and I. They're talking about Catholicism. They're talking about Protestants. They're talking about the mainstream, got your white collar on and your black robes and all that. They're talking about those guys. And by the way, those guys all fit together nicely. They all get together. They have dinners together. They get together. They've yoked up, and that's a huge mistake. And so I understand Lady, but I understand that most, especially your bigger churches, most of them, they've been brainwashed. They've been told that they have to do it in order to get loans, and they got to incorporate to get a loan. It's not true. And by the way, if it is true, hang it. Don't borrow money. Build you a pole barn and have church. Why do we got to borrow millions of dollars? And but anyway, don't get me going on that. It's never right to do wrong. But you don't understand. This is how we. Yeah, I do understand. We've drifted. And okay, so. In ancient Rome, after 300 AD, of course, Rome lasted till about 500 AD, and Rome fell apart. But the religious system never went away, and neither did the political system. They just lost some of their power. But do you know that 6 of our 9 Supreme Court justices are Catholic? Do you know that most of the big leaders in the House and the Senate, Pelosi, Schumer, both Catholics, staunch Catholics? immoral Catholics, but Catholics. It's infiltrated our government. That was not so in the early days of the founding of our nation. Our founders hated it. They hated that religion. And remember, they fled from that. Of course, the Mayflower and the 1600s, they fled from the persecution of the Roman system. And our founders didn't want us to have that state religion, and that's what it is. They've got their own capital over there. The Catholic Church has ambassadors in nations all around the world. It's not just religion; it's a political system. And by the way, they don't have their own army, but they empowered the armies. And by the way, that's coming. What do you think this mark of the beast is going to be? That if you don't have the mark, you'll die. Who do you think is going to carry that out? The system. It's going to be partly religious and partly political, and you're going to be an enemy of the state. You're going to be the enemy of God, the enemy of religion. You'll be put to death. You don't have the mark. You're not one of them. Yeah, it's coming. I promise it's coming. In fact, it's here now. All right. I hope that you understand what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the return of Rome. Rome, as it was in the past, is coming back, and we can see it clearly now. We know that it's just around the corner. The rapture is soon. It could be this fall. It could be next fall. It could be 2 years from now. But I'm telling you, it's soon, and I would not be surprised if we were out of here this fall. But you know what? My motto is live like he could come today, but plan to be an old man or an old woman. I think that's the biblical way to do this. Plan like he could come today, but live like he could come today, but plan your life so that you may die of old age. Okay? Because you just can't be sure of anything. All right. Even though the closer we get to the end, the more it all comes into focus. And boy, is it in focus today. Okay, all right. Did I make myself clear tonight what I'm talking about here from ancient Rome, Constantine, fooling them with this vision? Hey, by the way, the Antichrist is going to do the same thing. He's going to appear to have died and be brought back to life. You do know that Satan can't bring someone back to life, right? You do know that, right? If he could, there'd be Hitlers all over the world. He'd bring them back to life to use them again. No, he doesn't have that power. He can't create. He can't bring someone back to life. The Antichrist having a wound and brought back, I believe it's going to be faked. I believe it's going to be, it's going to be faked. It's going to appear to be that, and the fire coming down from heaven, all that, and he's going to use. And that's what Constantine did. He told him about this vision he had. Walks in there, has a big council meeting with all the churches, and tells them that God gave me this, and you get on board, or you're not right with God, right? Hey, don't the Catholics think they're the church? They do. Even though the Pope says all religions lead to heaven, he really doesn't believe that they have any authority. He's the authority. He's Peter. He's the Pope. He's the Peter on earth. He thinks he's standing in the place of Christ. It's a lie. It's a big lie. And Vance is asking, do you think that the fake resurrection will be on the Feast of First Fruits? No, yes, I do. I believe him entering the temple at the middle of the tribulation is going to be on Passover. And I believe the two witnesses are killed. And 3.5 days later, on Feast of First Fruits, they rise from the grave. Now, is that when he has a wound and appears to die? I don't know about that. It's possible. I'm not sure the Bible is real clear on the timing of that event. It may be, and I just haven't seen it yet. But I do know that the two witnesses are going to get up, Moses and Elijah, and ascend back to heaven on that Feast of First Fruits. And that's when the 144,000 become believers. And that's when the Antichrist says, I'll kill every one of them. And that's Matthew 24. Woe unto hers with child in those days. Talking about Jerusalem. Not talking about New York City, Boston, or Los Angeles. It's talking about in Israel, in Jerusalem specifically. Because the Antichrist is there. He's in the temple. And suddenly, them 144,000 Jewish men have all become believers in the true Messiah. And he's gonna hunt them down. He's gonna try to kill every one of them. They have to run for their lives. It says don't go in the house to get anything. Run. Don't if you're in the field, don't go back. Run for your life. And woe unto you if you're pregnant or you have a little toddler, because it's hard to run. And that's Matthew 24, right at the middle of the tribulation, talking about Jerusalem after the 144,000 Jewish men become believers when they see the two witnesses rise. All right. Let's see. Thank you for introducing William P. Grady. I now have his books and just pre-ordered your Daniel study guide. Awesome. Okay, folks, the Daniel study guide. It's on the website. I don't know how many pages it is yet. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be like no other Daniel study guide you've ever read, because it's my style and my simplicity. Even though some of it will be deep, it's clothed in simplicity, written on the bottom shelf, not a lot of huge, big 5-syllable words that you can't understand. And it would be a big help to me if you would start pre-ordering that. Some of you already have, but pre-order that. Get on there and get it ordered. You can buy 2 and save money, or you can just get 1. And we're hoping by the end of September, early October, to have that ready to ship. It's going to be awesome. And I'll be doing some stuff on. By the way, we'll be doing a series on the TV show about that as well. And a lot's changing. We've got a lot of news for you. You'll hear in the upcoming shows. You'll hear a little bit of it. We are going on some more networks, and I can't wait to get you all the information on that. But I don't have it yet. I don't have the dates or the times or anything yet. But one of the networks is Faith TV. It's on direct TV. I believe it's channel 379. I don't know when we're starting, but any week now. I don't know the day or the hour yet, but I'll get that for you. And we're still behind several $1,000s for what we need by the end of this month. So we're trusting God to touch people's hearts about that. And all right, there's a good chance that we're leaving CTN. We've already turned in our notice, unless some big money comes in. But we're gonna try 3 other networks, and I think we're gonna reach a lot more people for the buck than we're reaching now with CTN. But if some big money comes in, we're gonna keep that as well. But we're in the final days. It's time to invest. It's time to pull out all the stops. Time to do all we can to get the word out. You better get saved. You better get right with God, because Jesus is coming back. Well, until then, keep your eyes on them skies.